Hi guys, GamersCon here, and I'm back with Necrons and a new campaign. And I'm here to show you how to bring out their full potential in the Planetary Supremacy campaign on Company Captain difficulty. Full disclosure, I don't know if this was by design or is a glitch, but right now it seems the Company Captain difficulty modifier only applies to the neutral factions and not the main races. Don't know why. Anyway, the long wait is over and the Necrons are here. Quick overview. They are a really powerful race, maybe too powerful, especially in multiplayer. They are very durable, with every infantry unit having a 50% chance to revive. Their momentum passive gives them the scaling regen, proportional to the momentum they build, and they have some of the most devastating firepower in the game. So naturally, I, Genghis Khan, trying to make a full, glorious melee army with them. And failed miserably. Like, I failed a lot. They have a very hard counter in the new campaign, which made it almost impossible for me to use the melee force. Every race faces a different neutral faction, and the one the Necron face are the Adeptus Sororitas. And these angry battle nuns absolutely dunk on the Necrons, specifically the Seraphim unit. To be fair, this only happens in Company Captain difficulty, otherwise the Necrons are basically an autopilot race. Necron's strength lies in their shooting. While the other two factions have one or two extremely powerful ranged units, Necrons have a relatively strong shooting roster across the board. Whether it's the lowly warrior or the mighty Locust Heavy Destroyer, you will never feel disappointed after clicking on an enemy. That is, if you land a hit. And this is why the Sororitas are a hard counter for them. The Sororitas passive generates momentum based on how much damage they take. And the more momentum they gain, the more evasion they gain. Usually this is not an issue, because in normal mode, for the sisters to generate even 50% of the momentum from damage meant losing majority of their health, or even a model or two. 100% momentum usually meant only one sister was alive with maybe 10 hit points. But on Company Captain difficulty, if you as much as scratch the sisters, they generate a crap ton of momentum. The sisters can reach 100% momentum while taking less than 40% damage. At full momentum, they get plus 20 evasion or more, which skyrockets the Seraphim specially into the stratosphere. Moving a unit generates 10 evasion, and since their optimal range is one tile, they move a lot. Their jump packs also give them 10 evasion when activated. And it also has a one-turn cooldown. This leads to a situation where you have the Seraphim sitting at full model count and decent HP and plus 40 evasion. You will be lucky to have a 30% hit chance on these guys. On top of that, the Sister of Battle units are cheap, as in they cost nothing. Regular sisters cost 50 points, and the Seraphim cost 45. That means when you invade a neutral territory, even if you have more army points than them, you will still be severely outnumbered. And the cherry on top, the Seraphims have 85 hit points. To put that in perspective, Assault Marines have only 60 hit points, and the Dead Company have 90 hit points. The Seraphims are on par with the Dead Company while costing half as much. This much health makes it harder for a lot of your units to kill models, which leads them to easily generating full momentum bars, sometimes twice before going down. And I almost forgot, the sisters have a bajillion attacks. And because they can reach full momentum so easily, they all spend it on extra action points. So now their bajillion attacks turn into a gajillion attacks. Usually you would counter the Seraphim with hard-hitting melee units, as melee has a much higher hit chance than range. But Necron melee sucks. The Triarch Praetorian hit like wet noodles even when attacking from the rear. The flayed ones just flail about before dying to an accidental nudge. The Scorpeg Destroyers are like chainsaw-wielding snails. Terrifying, but if you take one step back, you should be fine. And the Lich Guard? Actually, the Lich Guard are cool, and make your life fighting the sisters a lot easier. Frankly, other than the Overlord, almost everyone struggles to hit the sisters consistently. The only reason this campaign is even winnable is because no matter the army points, only one sister will ever be armed with melta pistols. These ladies almost delete every single unit on your roster and should be your top priority to eliminate by any means necessary. If the sisters had more than one of these, the campaign would be a fucking nightmare. So since they are going to be in the majority of the battles you fight, how do you beat them? Well, you need either a very durable or expendable front line. The goal of the front line is to outlast the Seraphim jump pack buff, which usually means they have plus 20 evasion from both the action of jumping and the jump pack ability itself. Once it's down, you pew-pew them to death, after which you'll have a much easier time dealing with the regular sisters. But since I hate sissy pew-pew armies, I made a hybrid one. I tried my best to make a glorious melee army, but the Necrons lack mobility to get behind the enemy for rear attacks, which is the key to a successful melee army. The first two units that are absolute must include are the Overlord and the Lich Guard. The Overlord is the best unit in the game. Super tanky, teleport, defensive buff, can summon warriors, exceptional at melee, and can provide an AoE buff to range armor and movement. The last ability synergizes really well with the Lich Guard because it allows them to move further and lock down the sisters while taking an absolute beating. And by God, can they take a beating. Make sure you have at least two. With the Overlord nearby, these guys can absorb the damage from almost the entire Sororitas army. The only real threat to them are the Melta-wielding Seraphims, which is why you need at least one warrior or few scarabs that can act as bait. Lure out the Melta sisters and kill them with everything you got. You can also use the summoned warriors. They last the full length of the game and you have enough time to summon at least two before the fighting begins. I also grabbed two Scorpec destroyers. Their job is to countercharge and free any ranged units that the Seraphim have caught in zone control. And oh, I love both the Plasmancer and the Hexmach destroyer. Grab one of each, or two, or none. I'm not your mom. You don't have to listen to me. Plasmancer is great because he can do this.
The heart of this singularity will collapse.
And with a full momentum bar, he can do that twice. It works just like the double heal from the Apothecary. I like using this to guarantee the kill on the Melta Seraphims. And the Hexmark takes Necron Pew Pew to a whole nother level.
Targets acquired.
All of Necron's shooting options are good, but I prefer the Locust Heavy Destroyer, as they are the only unit in the game with enough concentrated firepower to remove models from the sisters. The Deathmark are great as well, but they're only good against single entities or low model count units. They might be good en masse, but I like the Destroyers more because they look and sound cooler. Immortals are okay. Toneblades are great against Marines and Nids, but don't fare that well against the sisters. Annihilation Barge with Gauss Annihilators can also be an excellent murdery damage sponge and a good alternative to the Lich Guard. So to reiterate, you use a very durable or expendable frontline to draw out the Seraphim and outlast their insane evasion buff. After which you concentrate all your firepower to eliminate or cripple them as fast as possible. Remember from my older guides that wiping out units isn't necessary, and you can safely ignore units that have 2 or less models. As for the rest of the campaign, because neither the Nids nor the Marines get the company captain bonuses, they are pretty easy to ruffle stomp. By the time you reach them, you have such a large army that you don't even need to think about the battle. Also, the Planetary Supremacy campaign is pretty short. If you rush it, you can be done with the entire thing in 4, maybe 5 hours. Frankly, I wish they did a short 6-mission story for the Necrons. It didn't even need to have a good plot. Just a simple, get off my lawn story to reflect the grumpy, genocidal grandpa nature of the Necrons. Considering how bad storylines for 40K games have been in the past, that would have been more than enough. Some other tips, always move at least 3 tiles with Necrons, and use their action points before ending the turn. They generate 5 momentum whenever you do that, which triggers their health regen. Note that if you move back and forth in the same area, you will not receive the momentum buff. So you have to move into a new location every time. Also, momentum is a lot more important on your frontline troops. So don't worry about your pew-pew guys having 0 momentum. Frankly, if the sisters have reached your death marks and your Locust Destroyers, then the game is basically already over. So that's my guide for the Necrons. I really enjoyed playing them, and I think the developers did an excellent job capturing their whole immortal robot aesthetics. The campaign, on the other hand, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later.